Wait. Don't skip this if you're a parent. Let me tell you that you should listen to our podcast, Let Kids Play Podcast. Why? Because our children are lacking creativity and problem solving skills. On this podcast, we laugh, we have special guests, we talk about the traditional and homeschooling needs, and give you tips and hacks and things like that to enhance your experience of teaching your little ones under 5 years old. You can find the Let Kids Play podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Hi guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you'll enjoy the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I'm your host, Earnest James. And on my podcast, my guests and I discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is whole, healed, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with their problems, heal from the pain, and to fulfill their purpose. So check out our podcast. We're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, or even on Audible. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel at Deal to Heal with E. James Podcast. Until then, see you soon. Are you looking for inspiration on a daily basis? Well, check out Deal to Heal Tees. With our inspirational tees, you're sure to find something that will inspire you. Just go to dealtohealtees.myshopify.com. That's Deal to Heal Tees. Get some inspiration in your situation. Wear inspirational tea and be inspired all day. That's Deal to Heal Tees at dealtohealtees.myshopify.com. Welcome to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with E. James. We believe that the relationship between a dad and daughter is one of the most important relationships in a woman's life. Our mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by spreading the voices of girl dads to the world and give love and support to all of our dads and their daughters. Let's get to it. Let's tune in. All right. Welcome to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. I'm your host, Earnest James, and we believe that the relationship between a father and daughter is one of the most important relationships in a young lady's life. And so our mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by spreading the voices of girl dads to the world and give love and support to all our dads and their daughters. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. If you haven't already, make sure that you guys listen, like, subscribe, and share to our podcast on all of your out of our social media pages and also on your podcast listening platforms. And also make sure you guys check out our new YouTube channel, the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network. As you guys know, we started off on our own channel with the Deal to Heal podcast, which is our parent podcast where we kind of broke off from. And then we decided, you know what, we're going to take this thing to the next level and turn it into a podcasting network. And so now we have multiple podcasts on our YouTube channel. And so, again, that's the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network. Make sure you guys go and follow us there. Also, our product of the week. As you guys know, we are a self-sustained podcast. And one of the ways that we stay on the air is by bringing you guys amazing products in order for you to purchase. So our product of the week for this week would be our podcast merch, right? Our podcast merch. So we have our podcast t-shirts which is t-shirts with our podcast logo on it that is able for you guys to purchase in order to help us to pay our bills and keep us on the air. So make sure you guys just go to Deal to Heal Tees, which is our same line as our inspirational t-shirt line. That's Deal, the number 2, healtees.com, deal to heal tees.com. Of course, is down in the link is also down in the description. So when you're watching this or listening to this, you go to the description, you'll be able to hit that link and check out our podcast merch, um, which is our product of the week. Also, for you guys, if you ever thought about starting your own podcast, you can also go to ebooksbyejames.com in order to get your copy of the ebook Start Your Podcast Now. Again, that's the ebook Start Your Podcast Now. People kept on asking me, how do I start my podcast? And so I wrote an ebook about it. So you guys can learn it. Start your podcast now in only 3 steps. I made it real simple so that anybody could get this ebook and have their podcast up and running in less than a day if they wanted to. So again, that's Start Your Podcast Now ebook. Just go to ebooksbyejames.com. Again, that's ebooksbyejames.com in order to get your copy of the ebook Start Your Podcast Now and start your podcast. So today, just like any other day, we are blessed with a guest, Mr. Carter. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I am good. I am good, man. So first of all, let me say thank you for being on, because you could have been doing anything else with anyone else, but you're here with me and my listeners, and we definitely appreciate it. So we're going to jump right in. So do me a favor, introduce yourself to my listeners. Tell us a little about who you are and what it is that you do.
Yeah, well, my name is Dontaye Carter. Live in the Atlanta area. I run a public relations firm, communication strategic firm. We've been on some of the biggest cases to come out of Georgia. Everything from working with the attorneys representing the victims in the R. Kelly case to Ahmaud Arbery, the voting rights cases. So we handle a lot of that work. And my other part-time job is raising my wonderful 6-year-old, and we co-authored a book together, and I just love seeing life through her eyes, going through the middle of COVID, and just being able to record those things and then bring that book to life.
All right, all right. So we're gonna jump right in it then, because you already mentioned it. So first of all, you mentioned that your daughter's 6 years old. Is that your only child that you have?
Yes, that's my only child.
Okay, cool, cool. All right, 6 year old. So what is her name? Because I always forget to ask, and we jump right into these interviews, and we be talking and don't even mention what's your daughter's name. So what is your daughter's name?
Kylie.
Kylie. All right, cool. Kylie, I hope she's listening. Well, she's 6 years old. She's probably not, but one day she'll be able to pull up this interview and hear all about her. So let's jump right in. And first of all, let me ask you, how did you even find out that you were going to be a father? Was it something that was planned, or did it just kind of surprise? Was it a surprise for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was, I think it was kind of planned, kind of surprised. I think at the point where you stop,
Yeah.
yourself as a measures, what's coming. But I found out on Father's Day of 2017, which was an amazing feeling. Yeah, amazing feeling. So
There's no better day than find out on Father's Day. I actually started this podcast on Father's Day for that reason.
Wow.
I was like, we talking about girl dads, so we're gonna start on Father's Day. So I actually started this podcast on Father's Day last year. So that's cool. That's cool. So so you already mentioned she's your only child, right? And it was, you guys kind of planned it. So even after finding out that you was going to be a dad, did you guys wait to find out what the sex was, or was it like, what, let's find out now so we know ahead of time?
I want to know ASAP. That's just how I was. I was super excited. I wanted to know, like, just let me know what we're having, what I'm preparing for. And I was over the moon excited when I found that we were having a little girl, and I think, I think girls change you, and they change you in ways that life experience never could. It forces you to see life through the eyes of not just this young innocent child, but somebody that you have to protect. And so I think it really reshapes how you lead and how you love and how you lift up and elevate.
Definitely. So let's go back, because you said your daughter's 6 now, so you got a couple years in. But how was that original experience, like holding her for the first time, and or even bringing her home for the first time, and realizing now it's like it's all on you. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's one thing when in a hospital because you got a whole staff and everybody help you out, but then when you bring them home, it's like, oh, okay, now,
yeah.
now it's kind of your responsibility. But how was that? How was that experience of bringing number one, bringing home your first child? And first of all, and then also it being a girl, and then just being a baby, at that stage and like brand new. How was that experience for you?
Man, I felt like that whole time I was listening to Will Smith's "Just the Two of Us," and I was remixing those lyrics a little bit to fit my relationship with my daughter. But even thinking about him trying to put his son in the car and being in traffic and the way people were driving, and him getting all tense, and then talking about when I put you in the crib and I kissed your head and I walked away slowly. It's like all those things as a man. I mean, so those are some moments that you and I know they come and they go so fast. And
Mm-hmm.
now I'm looking at my daughter, I'm like, dang man, I remember when she was 18 months old, snatching that piece of shrimp off my plate and trying to run like she was going somewhere. And is I mean you just don't get those moments back, and those moments where you're talking. I mean, and she's still telling me everything, but those younger years, life through their eyes is just different. And so I just kind of sit back sometime and I just like, man, I wish I could just pause it. I mean, if I'm dealing with this at 6, I can't imagine what you're dealing with, with your daughter now being 21. But it's like it goes so fast, and so I just find myself just wanting to make the most of each and every day, each and every moment, each and every second, because I do want her. My whole goal is the way I look at this is I'm preparing her for a life without me, and I want her to be able to, and just understand what it takes to be in this world, especially as a young black woman. And I think there's a duality in that conversation that most oftentimes people don't have, and it can leave us in some rough predicaments.
I want to go back to something you just said, because that just kind of threw me a whole little bit, because I never thought about it from that point of view. Because we always think we're preparing them for the world, but you said preparing her for a world without you,
Yeah,
and that just puts a whole nother spin on it. You know what I mean? Because like even myself, like I said, my daughter's 21 now, but even up until now, I have been parenting her to be on her own, but not without me. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So I never even thought about it from that point of view. That at some point I'm not going to be here, and you still need to know how to, know how to operate and carry yourself in order and move in this world successfully. So that definitely is another mindset to even look at it from, because I never even heard that before. So
yeah.
that's cool.
But it's like, I mean, we never know what's gonna happen, right? Like life is life. And I think, for me, there's, outside of a lot of the civil rights cases that we work on, we do a lot of work within the political space. And so I'm looking at things, I'm looking at the way laws are being changed, and it's like I want my daughter to be in a position that, when she comes of age, she knows how to respond. But not only she knows how to how to respond, but she can do it in a way where her and her king can roll at it strongly. Like my whole thing is, man, I was blessed to marry who I married. My wife came from a legacy, and I want my daughter to understand she came from a legacy as well, because it's that legacy that changes generations. It wasn't just a Coretta and Martin. Like there were people behind them that built them, prepared them for these moments. You think about Betty Shabazz and Malcolm. Like there was so much that went into them as they were coming up, and so I just I want my daughter to understand that she's never alone, but she's also equipped to handle and survive in this world.
Cool. So I want to ask you something, because one thing that I know is, as fathers, we're always teaching our daughters important into our daughters, but sometimes unbeknownst to us, sometimes we don't even realize it, that they're also teaching us something, and especially in those younger years, like you said, your daughter's 6, so she's learning a lot. But even with her learning a lot, I'm sure she's also teaching us a lot. So tell us something that you've learned from your daughter, even at the young age of 6.
Man, one of the things I learned, I remember I was taking my little girl to daycare, and I was holding the door for one of the moms coming in behind me, and I didn't know it at the time. She was a single mom, and I was holding the door open, and my daughter just gave me this look, and I was just like, "What?" I'm just holding the door, and she was like, "She ain't my mom." You know what I'm saying? And, it was it was such a powerful moment because I think sometimes we do things as men, gestures that we think are nice, but we don't understand how they're read or interpreted by other people. And I think that's one of the things that she did is she helped me to see that, wow, like this innocent gesture, right? She felt like it was the message it was sending, right, was different. And so I was like, dang man, that's like even at her young age, she understands that, hey, like you think you're just holding the door, but yeah, I think you might be doing a little too much. And like um, I remember I had shared about it on Facebook, and one of the ladies was like, "Well, she just needs to learn that that's what gentlemen do at all times." But I mean, you and I both know there's certain things that gentlemen do that are taken out of context, and so I was just like, it just helped me to be a little more mindful of that. And I'm just like, wow, it it helped me to see, okay, I gotta be careful, and also making sure that in the ways that I move, she feels like the relationship between me and her and me and her mother is protected as well. And that's what that kind of helped me to see as well.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's a big thing too, because it kind of wakes up in our head like, okay, even in our actions, we want to make sure that we're teaching,
Yeah.
because like you said, some of the things that we do may be from our point of view coming from a innocent and good space, but then it may be received wrong,
Hmm.
and so like even that will be a teaching moment to say, well, I understand that's not your mom, but as men, this is how you want to be treated by any man that you come in contact with. This is what the standard should be, not
Yeah.
just for you and your mom, but for any woman. And so once we're able to have that in our head that, okay, every moment is a teaching moment, then we're able to relay those messages. So she learned that, yes, this is something, yes, my dad does do this for me and my mom, but as a gentleman, he also extends that to other women.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing for us to learn too. Every moment is a teaching moment. You
Yep.
know what I mean? So we got to do
Most
that
definitely.
as fathers. So as a father, so far, your daughter, like I said, she's 6, and so what is one of your biggest accomplishments that you think you've made as a father?
Man, I think us being able to write this book together, because like I told a lot of folks, they're like, "Oh, you just wrote." I was like, "Nah, you go in there and read that book. You gonna tell." I think she was 4 or 5 at the time. It had a 4-year old, 5-year old's like thought pattern in these things, and so there's no way for me as a grown man to be able to put myself into the mind of a child like that. And so her input was so invaluable, but seeing the way we worked together with it and just being able to communicate that story, to me, it was just really powerful. And so I kind of looked, I was like, man, if we were able to do that with as young as she is, man, there's no telling what we can accomplish. Cause it was crazy because I didn't even know it. Like, we started working on it and I sat on it for a long time, but I was like, man, if I would have published this thing right when it hit me, like she'd be the youngest author in the world. Now she got beat out by a kid on the other side of the world. I'm like, man, I should have sped that sucker
Mm.
up. But I'm grateful we were able to kind of sit down. My wife was a part of the process. She understood why it was so important to me because it was bananas. Because there were some of the friends that we had, and they were like, "Man, you doing all this stuff with your daughter? What about your wife?" And I'm like, "No, my wife knows I love her, but on the flip side, like we're going up against a narrative that so many in the world don't want out there. You talk about there being a strong man in the household. I'm not just talking about physically. I'm talking about with the way he loves, with the way he leads, and it's a threat to so many other people because our community has been down for so long. So, but we've got to create environments where our young men see that, man, it's okay to love and lead in this way. And that's for me, that's what I'm passionate about. because I saw it. I didn't have a dad in the household, but I had other men that stepped in, and that's what I keep trying to tell folks. I think sometimes not sometimes, a lot of times, you know, we judge men by who's where instead of what they're doing. And we'll sit over there and so many will say, well, my daddy wasn't there, but they don't talk about the impact that coach made, the teacher made. So many men that step up in other areas, and I think that they have to be credited as well. And so that's what I hope to kind of highlight with what we're doing and sharing.
Yeah, and I want to go back. I want to get into the book itself first of all. But I want to go back a little further than that, right? Before we get into the story of the book, to get into your story a little bit, because we were talking a little bit off camera before we got started, and you were saying even why you feel that even this podcast within itself is so important because you yourself is a were a product, if I'm not mistaken, of a single home. You was raised in a single parent home, and I always share that I was blessed to be raised in a two-parent household with my mom and dad, until my mom passed away, and so, but just from your point of view, why is, first of all, just the narrative, of father being in the home from your perspective as being raised from a single mother and then being the father now that you probably wish that you had it at some point. Why do you believe that that is so important from your point of view?
Well, it's interesting because I know who my father is, and as a man, we've been able to build and grow a relationship. And I think that what I'm starting to learn is we got to fix, well, not really fix, but we can't allow the negative stereotypes to impact how our community is viewed. I don't, a lot of people don't talk about it. I mean, we used to hear grandmama and them say, y'all came from royalty, kings and queens.
Mhm.
We really forget that that's what we came from, because this history and this narrative of us being slaves and thieves and thugs, and these things, they reverberate all throughout the media, and instead of our young men getting the love that they need, right, they become victims of these stereotypes, and it's not fair to them. And I kind of look back and it's bananas, right? Because when you think about it, 86% of black men are marrying black women. 70% of the men are in homes with that child's mother, right?
Mhm.
So 70%. So that means this stereotype of black men not being in homes is only makes up 30% of our community. So why are we allowing such a small fragment of our population? And I don't want to disrespect that struggle because I came out of that. But the reality is that's not our entire community. Like
Right.
I can't tell you how many black boys that I knew that I went to school with whose daddies were in the home. It was just mine that wasn't at the time, right? And they had to do some healing on their end to get to this place of reconciling. But we just got to be real. Like I think for me, this book isn't about changing the narrative. It's about restoring the narrative, because black men have always done that. They've always been here. The fact that we are celebrating Juneteenth is because black male soldiers got up and fought for not just their freedom, but their family's freedom. And then they walked around the South after slavery ended to find their wives, find their children. And that's even with knowing that their wives may have a new man because of the slave owner and how he tried to mate them, right? And so, but that's the depth of that love. And so, like for me, that's powerful, right? And that's what I want to embody is that love of us fighting through oppression, because that's what we've done. We've loved through oppression. We've fought through oppression. We've led through it. I mean, people think that Dr. King Coretta was just this one off. No, Dr. King learned from Daddy King. Coretta learned from her mom and her father. Like these aren't one off stories, and so we just can't allow them to dominate the media, because by us speaking up, that 30%, right, where it does happen, gets smaller and smaller, because now these kids see hope. But if all they see, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but if all they see are the rap videos and HO this and that, like, you know what I'm saying? Like then that's what
Mhm.
they're gonna emulate, when you and I both know it's more to that. And you know, being a father is hard work, being a married faithful man is hard work. But
Mhm.
the more that our children see it, the more that we give them something new to emulate.
Right, right. And then one thing I learned, and definitely something that I've always spoke to people that I speak to, the kids, because as a speaker, I'm in different places and different schools and things like that. But one thing that I've reiterate all the time is life is hard,
Yeah.
right? Life is hard, period. So choose your heart. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You can choose hard and to do things right, or you can choose to fight hard to do things wrong. You know what I'm saying? But either way, you got to choose. It's going to be a hard road, so you might as well choose the higher road and get the benefits of what comes from trying to do things right. So just choose your heart, which heart
Yeah.
you want to take. So I want to get a little bit more into the book, and I'm definitely excited that you and your daughter actually wrote this book together. So in one of my past episodes, I actually had a father and daughter on who not only wrote I think they wrote several books together, but they also have like a whole business together, and a whole business structure. And part of that is teaching parents how to run a business with your child. You know what I mean? So that's one of their things that they do. So that was one of our earlier episodes. You guys can go back, to my listeners, to go back and check out that episode. I think it was Anthony Dawson or Dobson, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head. But you
Yeah.
guys can go back and listen to that episode. But let's talk about this process of you. First of all, let's talk about the book too, but the process, how you guys came up with the idea, then the process of writing the book, and then let's get more into the details of what the storyline is and what the book represents.
Yeah, it was interesting. I think everybody would see the pictures I post on social media and they're like, man, Dante, you gotta write a book. You gotta write a book. My mom was like a huge component. Write a book, write a book. And I was like, no, 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 no. But as I looked out into the media space, I won't lie. I mean, I felt, and I think most black men feel this way. They feel ignored, right? Like it's like
Mhm.
in these spaces, it's like you don't see us in roles of leadership, leading our homes. You know what I'm saying? Like every movie that we're in comes with some type of conflict. Every athlete that we see comes with some type of stereotype, and so it almost diminishes the value of us. And I was just like, no, man, like what I'm doing out here, what I'm doing with kids that aren't even mine, like the love that I'm putting out here, no, I think that should be captured. And so it was interesting because anybody knows sitting down and trying to get something like this out of a 4 or 5 year old is a process in and of itself, right? And so it took several times, but us sitting down, talking, listening to her, because at that age they like the one words, right?
Mhm.
I like my daddy because he's the best, and I'm like, what does the best mean though? Like, give me some. They like those one words. My daddy's awesome, and I'm just like, But as we started actually sitting down and I'm pulling up pictures of different events that we did and listening to her talk about those, and as she's talking, I'm writing, trying to make sure that I get down her, the way she sees it and the way she put it out, and I'm like, oh, I like the way you worded that. I like the way you worded that, because I mean, we got we got babies born every day. So this is not a book that's gonna go out of style, but I want the children that look like my little girl, to be able to see this book and be inspired by it. I mean, that was one of the things that I was really inspired by when I sat back and read your book. I mean, especially the affirmation part. That was the part that stuck out to me the most. And talking about affirming those things that you know about your daughter, right? Like that was huge because it's like they got to hear it from us.
Mhm.
They got it. And if they don't hear it from us, where does that leave them, right? If they don't hear that they're beautiful, if they don't hear that they're intelligent, if they don't hear that they're funny, if they don't hear that, man, I love the way you told that joke. Like, what are we exposing them to by not elevating them with love and light?
All right, all right. So let's get a little bit into the book as far as like the storyline of the book and the message that you wanted to convey through the book itself.
Yeah, what I wanted people, because I keep hearing this changing the narrative stuff, right? And I didn't want it to be a change in the narrative. I wanted people to know we're here. We've always been here, and allowing them to see that, like, this relationship that I have with my daughter is the same relationship that many women have with their fathers. right? Like, and we can accept two truths, right? That there are fathers who have
Mhm.
been great men, but we can also accept that there are a lot of fathers that have been great men, and elevate and applauding those efforts to produce a better society. And so that's what I wanted to lift up. I wanted to lift up. I think for me, I was very I used to work in television news as a reporter and an anchor, and it just seemed like all we did all the time was crime, 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 crime. If it bleeds, it
Mhm.
leads. Crime, 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 and all these crime stories all looked like us, and it was such a false sense of what our community really looked like, and then when we told the stories, we didn't tell their lives. It was just another number, and I think for me it was just like, no, we need to start adding context to our lives. That despite the systemic barriers we face, guess what? We can make it. Despite how they keep changing these laws that impact us, whether it's voting rights, civil rights, any of these things, we still show up. We still find ways of winning. And overwhelmingly, a majority of our folks are winning. We got more black men going to college than are going to prison. We got to applaud that, because those men are going to lead families, right? And
Right.
this is what I wanted to be an impetus for that, and inspiring along with that.
All right. All right. So I know we're going to make sure that we get the information where we can get the book from. I definitely want you to mention that towards the end, so we can make sure that we um, purchased the book, and support you guys definitely. But we want to switch it up real quick before we get out of here to our getting to the core segment of the podcast. And so, as you guys know, the getting to the core segment is a segment that was written off of the Core 4 ebook that I wrote, which is the Core 4 values that every daughter should get from her father. And that ebook can be purchased at ebooksbyejames.com. Again, that's ebooksbyejames.com. And that's the Core 4 ebook, which is the 4 core values that every daughter should get from her father. And of course, the links to that will be down in the description, so you guys can go there in order to check that out. And so, Dante, I wanted to ask, so I talk in that book, I talk about the core 4 values that I believe at its core, because as we know, fatherhood is much, much more, and raising our daughters is much, much more than what I could put into an ebook, right? So
Yeah.
I just kind of broke it down to the 4 core values that I thought was important. And so those core values are guidance, affirmations, love and affection, and protection. And so I know you mentioned about affirmations earlier, but out of those 4, in your own words, which ones, definitely knowing they all are important, but which one will probably be most important to you to instill in your daughter of those 4?
Man, it's kind of tough, because I went between love and affections and affirmations, and I went back and forth, back and forth. But I think for me, affirmation stood out more because it was about building that child up with the things that you say, right? Affirming who they are. And I just, to me, that's so vital, because, we can make or break a child's confidence, right? And especially a little girl's. And so I just remember, even at my daughter's school, they're like, man, her confidence is through the roof. She got to bring that down a little bit. It's almost on the cocky line. And I'm like, I'd rather her have to bring it down than have to build it up, right? And
Right.
I'd rather her be out on the soccer field walking with a swag of like, I'm gonna come in here and take this ball from you and score, or I'm gonna get an A because I feel like I can get an A. Like, I'd rather have her have that confidence than have the fight to build it up. Because I mean, anybody that struggle with confidence knows that it's not an easy thing to gain. And so,
Mhm.
and I mean, we see it with athletics all the time, right? A player lose their confidence, they are no good, right? They gotta go back to the drawing board. They got to get their confidence back. And I never wanted my child to feel like, man, I had to build her confidence up and make her into something. I want her to know that who God intended her to be is who she is, and you got to walk in that glory.
Right, right. Okay, cool, cool. So I think you kind of answered this question, but I'm gonna ask you again. So we talked about the 4 core values, which is the 4 values that I thought was very important. But if there could be a 5th value that you could add, what would that 5th value be?
um, so we had protection, love and affection, affirmation. What was the fourth one? I'm forgetting. I'm sorry.
Protection, Guidance, affirmation, love and affection, and protection.
I think the only one I could think of adding to that is probably providing. You know, how we provide, what we provide. I think that would be a great piece to add to it. Like I said, I mean, you mentioned it too. It's very, when we talk about what, you know, a father provides and what they bring to the table, it's a lot. But I think that was one of the things that I thought if I could ever add anything to it, it'd probably just be that component.
All right, all right, man. So, Dante, thank you so much for being on, man. I want you to leave us with a word of advice, probably for our fathers or even our daughters that's listening, because we do have daughters that listen and have had some daughters actually on the podcast,
Yeah,
to talk about their relationship with their dads. So, I definitely want you to have a chance to. Definitely leave us with the information for the book where we
yeah,
can get the book and your social media um, contacts and things of that nature, and also leave us with a word of advice or inspiration or something like that for our dads or our daughters that's on this journey right now. So I'll give you a couple seconds to think about that. To my listeners, man, thank you guys for tuning in to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. Make sure that you guys are also checking us out on our websites. Excuse me. On our websites that we have. First, we have the dealhealfulfill.org website. That website is mostly about me and the things that I have going on as a speaker, as a podcaster, and also as an author. Definitely, my goal is to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. So make sure you guys go to the dealhealfulfill.org. Again, that's dealhealfulfill.org in order to learn more about me and the things that I have going on. And that way, you also find out how you guys can have me to come in and to be a speaker at your school, right? Also, we want to make sure that you guys look us up at Deal to Heal Tees, right? Our Deal to Heal Tees t-shirt line. Make sure that you guys check that out, and I think I jumped a little bit, but make sure that you guys check out our Deal to Heal Tees, which is our inspirational t-shirt line. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tee and be inspired all day. Also, under Deal to Heal Tees, you guys also can get our podcast merch, which you guys want to check out. And last but not least, our last um, website I want you guys to check us out is ebooksbyejames.com. Again, that's ebooksbyejames.com. There are several ebooks there, including the core four, which we talked about briefly tonight. So you guys can go there and get your copy of the ebook. And also, if you're feeling froggy and you really like the ebooks, you can also sign up there to be an affiliate of the ebooks, right? So when you promote them and someone buys from your affiliate link, you will get 50% of whatever they spend. So make sure you guys go there to ebooks by E. James to check out the ebooks for yourself. And if you love them, which I know that you will, then sign up to be an affiliate of the ebooks also. And also that will also be down in the descriptions. The links for that will be in descriptions. So you guys can check that out as well. So what is it? Oh, last but not least, I almost forgot. One of the things that I'm really proud of is that I've been blessed to be a part of an organization called the Forgiveness Mission. And what we do, we have free virtual workshops every quarter of the year. And what we talk about is forgiveness, everything about forgiveness, forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, even forgiveness of the world. And so these workshops are absolutely free and they're virtual, so you can take them on your phone or you can take them on your laptop. And we used to do them every quarter. So now we started doing them every other month. So it's not even every quarter now, it's every other month. So whenever you're listening to this podcast episode, just go to forgivenessmission.com or go to Eventbrite and look up Forgiveness Workshop, sponsored by the Forgiveness Mission, and sign up and register for that next workshop that's coming up. Because whenever you listen to this, either one is coming up or one just ended, but you can sign up for the next one. And again, that's the Forgiveness Mission. We've been doing that for about a year or so now, going strong with it, and that's something I'm very proud to be a part of. So that being said, Mr. Dante, thank you again so very much for being on. for sharing your story and your expertise. I want you to have the last word, so the floor is yours.
I appreciate it. Well, hey, y'all can find me on all social media platforms at Dontaye Carter. You can find the book at My Daddy and Me book.com. And of course, it's on Amazon and all the other digital bookstores. And that last word here, I mean, you know, one of the things that I kind of preach to my daughter, even at her young age, is to never yield her power to someone that doesn't know her value. And that's one of the things that I really preach. I think, you know, a lot of times, especially within our community, we give away power to folks that don't understand our value. You know, you see it everywhere from economics to politics on down the line. And I just want her to know that, no, the only time you yield is to folks who understand your value and are moving in that direction.
All right. And we can't end it no better than that. To my listeners, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, where our mission is to spread the voices of dads and their daughters and give our love and support to all our dads and daughters at the same time. So until next time, you guys be blessed. Thanks for listening to the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with E. James. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our podcast on all your podcast listening platforms. Also, don't keep it to yourself, but share it with someone else that the Girl Dad Discussions podcast is on the air. Until next time, be blessed.
Hey, it's Alex
and Bella
from Let's Not Sugarcoat It, a podcast where each week we bring you real, raw, and unfiltered conversations.
Our guests share their life's journeys in entrepreneurship, relationship, parenthood, and much, much more
in an authentic and raw way where no one sugarcoats life's messes and successes.
Make sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any of your favorite podcast apps, and tune in every Wednesday for new episodes.